Why are you defending yourself? My belief actually used to be defending myself made me strong. Explaining my action, justifying my decisions, making sure everyone understood why I did what I did. Until I realized, of course, every time I defended myself, I stayed stuck in the exact same pattern that created the problem in the first place. So defending yourself is just fear, and it actually traps you. And in business, as a founder, as a woman trying to create something bigger than herself, defending yourself is the fastest way to kill your own growth. I learned this quite early on, but not because I was wise, not at all, because I had no choice. From the moment I could speak, I knew defending myself wouldn't get me anywhere. None in my family listened, and I understood I had to do it differently. Otherwise, it would just hold me back. I was odd, different, the kind of kid who made other people uncomfortable just by existing. I didn't fit into any box society tried to put me in. And when you're like that, you have two options actually. Spend your entire life explaining yourself or learn to communicate differently. I chose the second path because there was no other choice. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to survive actually. I noticed something. Every time I pointed a finger at someone, blamed them, accused them, made them wrong, they went into defense mode. And the second they did that, the conversation was over. No answers, no solutions, just two people protecting their positions. And no one would listen anyway. They were too far gone into their own minds. So I started speaking for myself instead. My feelings, my observations, how I experienced things. Not you did this wrong, but this is how I felt when that happened. That made a huge, huge difference. But the real lesson came a lot later. When I was building my business, working with partners, navigating the corporate world as a woman who refused to play by the rules. I remember one situation vividly. I was in a meeting. A decision I had made was being questioned. And my first instinct, like is for the most of us, was to defend. To explain why I was right, why they didn't understand, why my actions made perfect sense if they just listened. But I stopped myself, thankfully, because I'd learned something by them, something so valuable. When you defend yourself, you're not actually protecting yourself. You're protecting your ego. And your ego doesn't want solutions, it wants to be right. So instead of defending, I listened. I asked questions. I tried to understand what was actually happening beneath the words. And you know what I found? The criticism wasn't about me at all. It was about their pain, their fear, their own unresolved issues showing up in the conversations. This became my practice. In business, in relationships, in every single area of my life. When someone criticized me, I didn't defend. I listened. When someone blamed me, I didn't explain. I took accountability and thought about it. Not because I was always wrong, but because defending kept me stuck in a mind loop where I had to be right. It just wouldn't serve me. And by being right doesn't move you forward. It keeps you exactly where you're at. So I spent years really practicing this, and I'm not going to lie, it was brutal. I saw the worst parts of myself, the arrogance, the anger, the need to be seen as competent, intelligent, worthy, to be right and be validated for it. I watched myself become someone I didn't recognize when I felt attacked, defensive, sharp, mean even, unfairly treated. But every time I caught myself and chose differently, something opened up. I could actually hear what people were saying, not just their words, but what was behind them. I could bridge the gap instead of widening it. I could see it wasn't about me or my ideas, but their own issues. I could create solutions instead of staying stuck in the problems. And in business, this changed everything. Because defending yourself in business shows the strongest lack of integrity and responsibility for your actions. Think about it. When you defend you're saying, I did this because, and then you list all the reasons why you had no choice, why the other person was wrong, why circumstances forced your hand. But that's not leadership, that's victimhood. And as a founder, as a businesswoman, and a woman, as someone trying to create something new, you can't afford to be a victim. You have to own your decisions, all of them, even the ones that didn't work out. Because when you defend, you stay stuck in your old patterns, in your old mind loop, in your comfort zone. And your comfort zone is exactly where growth goes to die. It was tough letting go. I had to kill the part of me that needed to be right, the part that needed to everyone to understand my perspective, the part that couldn't handle being misunderstood. And when I did, I stepped into a completely different version of myself. One that could listen without taking things personally. One that could adapt without losing integrity. One that could create action instead of defending inaction. But the hardest part wasn't learning not to defend myself to others. It was learning not to defend myself to myself. Because we do this constantly. We defend our actions in our own minds. I didn't go to the gym because I was too tired. I didn't start that project because I wasn't ready. I didn't speak up in that meeting because nobody would have listened anyway. We create these elaborate explanations for why we didn't do the thing we said we would do, and we actually believe them. But every time you defend your inaction to yourself, you reinforce that pattern, and that's something to remember. You tell your brain, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is my limit. Limitations? Wow. And your brain believes it. So you stay stuck. Not because you can't change, but because you keep defending the version of yourself that doesn't want to. Remember that. I had to face this. I had to stop defending my procrastination, my fear, my resistance to stepping outside my comfort zone. And when I did, when I just took accountability and said, I chose not to do that, and I can choose differently tomorrow, everything shifted for me. So, what are you defending right now? What explanations are you giving yourself for why you can't do the thing you want to do? What story are you telling about why someone else is wrong and you are right? Because I promise you dearly that defense is keeping you stuck. It's keeping you in the same mind loop, the same patterns, the same limited version of yourself. And if you want to create something new in business, in life, in any area, you have to let go of the need to defending. You have to be willing to listen, to take accountability, to adapt. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to admit when something isn't working. Strong enough to change your mind. Strong enough to let go of being right in favor of moving forward. I learned this by staying on my own side of the football court, by refusing to buy into other people's battles, by understanding that I can only fight from where I'm at. The second you step into someone else's defense, you've already lost. So stay where you're at. Listen from there. Respond from there. And watch how quickly things shift when you stop defending and start creating. Now I want you to hear, and I want to hear from you. What's the one thing you've been defending lately? Either to others or to yourself. Drop it in the comments, please, below, and let's talk about it. Because the moment you name it, you take away its power. And that's when real change begins. And if you want more of this, I have a 7-day challenge that will make you shift your focus and kickstart this. And I will be here next week, as usual.